Hi everyone, in today's video we are diving into Runway Gen4, the latest update from Runway. But before we start, I wanted to let you know that I purchased all my credits and this video is not sponsored at all. Every bits that I mention or talk about is my own and unique opinion. We'll explore Gen4 update from Runway and we'll see what it means for us as designer and architect. I mean, did you see how they use the reference and the 3D layout in their promo clip? It's amazing. Look at this car, look at this plane, just amazing footage there. So we'll see. But the main question is, does it actually work for architecture? We'll try to answer that along the way during our video. We'll go through a few workflows that could help us to get the most of it and see how we can leverage those exciting updates and highlight what is not quite there yet, at least for us. I'll walk you through some of the key features and share my recommendation along the way. Let's get into it. So here I have my Rhino model and I have the site that I got from Google Earth of the next 2032 stadium for the Olympic in Brisbane. That was a sort of a test I've done, some work I've done on it. And I have a full video, a bit about the process on my YouTube channel, so check it out. I'll put the link above in the description. But basically, I use that model to generate those first few shots that I will use in Runway to see how we could reference the 3D. So a bit like as we saw on the demo that they show, how do you reference the 3D and how can you use it? A bit like what I'm trying to see if it's a bit like control net. Why not? Can we get a screenshot from 3D and then put it into Runway? So now we are in Runway. And now I'm dropping under the references. I'm grabbing the screenshot and I'm grabbing also the reference image and I'm writing the prompt. I'm trying to describe how one is referring to the other and how to use one and the other. And here's the result, which is quite impressive in terms of changing the angle of the... So this is per stadium. It's actually an AFL and cricket stadium. So it could potentially be an Olympic stadium. The idea for Brisbane Olympic is that it become after the Olympic a cricket and AFL stadium. So I think it was a good reference. But it's interesting because it changed a bit of the angle, so it just sort of invent the site, which is, to be honest, have been there and I found it quite accurate. So I'm not too sure if they refer to existing data or photos of this stadium, but it's quite stunning. So now I tweak a bit the prompt to try to see if I can be more accurate in terms of, now I actually want you to apply just the texture or the idea onto my 3D, and it doesn't work quite well. So I'm trying something slightly different where I remove the reference completely and I'm just adding the stadium itself, and I will try to tell it to do it to make it more realistic. Now that's the results and it's not quite there yet. And this is Gen 4 and it's just not really, it's not putting any effort in terms of realistic event. So I just decided to change a bit the approach and maybe use one of the preset to add a bit more realism to this image to help the model to create more realism. So I select one of the preset and then I'm just rewriting the prompt and ask it to be more realistic again. And let's see what comes out. So when we look at it, it's actually slightly better. I feel like there's more realism in there, but then we lose the context. So it's quite interesting how, not too sure how the diffusion process work, but it feels like it sort of got the geometry, but then it doesn't really change the geometry much, which is quite frustrating because it's just like it feels like it could bring a bit more realism. So yeah, I'm trying sort of similar process and what I would do in Flux with ControlNet, and then sort of, you know, ask it to do some visual. And then again, not quite there yet with this one. So now I'm trying another approach where I will basically use a screenshot, but maybe from more eye level, so below the stadium, because I felt maybe it's because they didn't have enough database to really work with it. But unfortunately, the result is quite far away from the original. So somehow, and there's no way to control how much how close you can be, like in ControlNet, or a weight. And then I put another reference here, and then it just doesn't really work. So I think that's a bit of a disappointment in terms of I was hoping to be closer because. But I think it's the how the model works. I think for in the demo, you know, with the Porsche and the plane, it's actually quite close to each other. And for architecture, it's slightly different. So yeah, sort of got it by tweaking, being a bit more accurate in the prompt, and then but it changed the view, unfortunately. Like it didn't really kept the same view as I had. You know, this is some of the results I've done for my previous video about Brisbane 2032, where I just basically use that screenshot that we saw in Rhino, put it in Flux, and then generate some image in Flux locally on ComfyUI, and then I use those images to create those video in Runway, and it came out really nice. And again, the prompt I used there were very simple, was just zoom in. Some of them work quite well in terms of zooming, but some start to fly, a bit like a drone shot, which I didn't like it much, but it was using only zoom in. This one is sort of pan to the right, so it's not quite following 100% the prompt. I think you need to be a bit more detailed in your prompt. After those example, I'll run you through other way to write the prompt, which is way more accurate. But this one was sort of a test. But again, great to have it as a workflow, to have it a nice image that you've done with ComfyUI locally, and then you put in Runway to animate. That works really well, and Gen4 is releasing some amazing results. Now in this one, I wanted to test another images. Same, I've done it using Flux locally on ComfyUI. It's a house in the middle of the desert, and I wanted a nice Milky Way sky by night with artificial lights. And then I was looking at how I could prompt it more accurately. So I went through the doc here, and that's what I really like with Runway, is you can actually access all that doc, and then you have some visuals GIF that helps you to write the prompt. So I start writing the prompt. And then I went down. That was the funny thing. So I had to go actually to Gen3 Alpha to get some example of prompt or movement of camera. So I went down there. I select the camera I wanted. I update the prompt here to capture that movement. And then after I finalized my prompt, I went back to Gen4 to generate it. So here I'm choosing cinematic. And then I go back to Gen4 Turbo to generate that video. And in the meantime, I go back to the prompt and I'll just look at what's out there in terms of camera movement. And there's a link here you can click, and you can actually get even more detail on what are the different camera movement, which is quite amazing. And here you have all the GIF on the right hand side, and then the description of the prompt. So I select this one here. There's also the speed of your zoom, which is quite an interesting feature. And then there are like some more movement down the track here with Gen4 and some indication on the prompting, which I think I didn't get the chance to go through all of them, but I think it's a very good starting point. So now from now, so this works quite well, like a bit of a pan to the right. Quite interesting. And I'm just wondering what it would be if I increase. So in Gen 3, you can see there are also like some camera movement you can do underneath. Okay, so for here, I'm trying this 10 seconds, and then I'm going back to the camera movement, and there's one movement that I really like and I want to try, is the camera slightly glides up. So I wanted to see a bit more of the Milky Way, so I wanted to shut the building and then the camera point out towards the Milky Way. So I'm just using camera slightly glide up from the villa in the middle of the night towards the beautiful Milky Way in the sky, and I'll just keep in a cinematic, in a style of cinematic. So for review, this is my 10-second video. So again, like really beautiful. I think it just works very well, as well as like the 5 seconds, just a nice continuity. And this is my glide up. So wow, you know, very impressive. I really love what's happening there with the camera. So let's try another one just to see, and let's pick the rotation. So that's supposed to rotate my camera around the subject, and let's see if it works. So camera rotates to the right while maintaining focus on the villa. And then I remove towards the beautiful Milky Way, and then I click generate. And unfortunately, it didn't really did a good job. It just did a pan right. So instead of having the glide, so I don't know if it's because my subject is not a human, it's a building, it might just do it differently. Now I'm trying the zoom, but then I will just try the zoom with a bit more control. So I'm going to try the zoom 5. I like the speed of it. So I'm just adding here zoom 5 out. Yeah. And then I generate. And let's see. So that works really well as well. I think the speed matched very well what's indicating. So very interesting to see. Now if I change and do zoom in by 5. Let's see what comes out. And nope, not really. So unfortunately, it doesn't really do a nice zoom in. It's just, again, do a pan right. It feels like when it doesn't know what to do, it's just go with pan right. So here I'm going to try something slightly different. I'm going to use Gen 3 Turbo, and I'm going to transform this video, full video. So I click on reuse this video to actually generate a day shot. So I don't think you can use Gen 4 for that. So you still need to do Gen 3, and it's actually doing an amazing job. So for reference, I used to do this, but to do this, I would go and take my original image that I already generated with Flux. I will go in Gemini 2.0, and then I will transform it to a different time of the day or different weather. I have a full video about that breakdown here. I will put the link above in the description. But that's how I would change that aspect. And what I found amazing with Runway is actually you can do it straight there. So you don't ever need to do that, go back, recreate the prompt, wait for the prompt. You can actually jump a step and just tell it to change the weather of the day, or like the time of the day. So it's not, I think in terms of architecture, it looks quite close to the original, but there are some slight change. So I think it would be worth to do more tests on that to see if it really can keep the architecture, but it looks really promising on this example. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do a drone shot. I have a couple of shots that I generate using Gemini 2.0, and so what I want is, like, I will give it 3 frames, and for this. Unfortunately, it's not a feature that it's yet on Gen 4. It's only Gen 3. And I try with these 3 frames, and I will try to do that drone shot. Can't wait for it to be in Gen 4. But let's see what Gen 3 is generate using those 3 shots from ComfyUI, Flux, and Gemini. Okay, so that's the result. Unfortunately, I found it's not quite there. The morphing doesn't really work very well. It's a bit of odd things. It doesn't really feel professional, but it's interesting to see. So hopefully by the time it gets to Gen 4, it will be much better. Okay, so in this following clip, I wanted to test the reference because, you know, it's all over LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever you follow Runway, and they talk about those reference. So I just wanted to see how those reference and have a bit of fun with it and see how you could use them maybe for your architecture project. So here I have the villa. So I'll start again with the villa. I'll put a photo of myself just to see how it looks like. And then I have a photo of Dune. I was saying maybe the desert, that's a good theme. And then what's interesting here is you can actually rename those images. So you can see here now I'm writing full body shot of me, and I use the @ to refer to it, front of the villa. So because I renamed them, I can refer to that. And I think it would work better than just writing image 1, 2, and 3. So having the @ work better. Now that's the result. Not quite there. So I'm just saying maybe I need to describe a bit more the body because it's a full body shot. So I'll put an image, a reference image that shows the full body shot from Dune. And I also wonder if we could change the time of the day. So I went a bit long shot on this one, but I'm saying like maybe we can change instead of having it by night, maybe we can have it in the evening. But it didn't really do that. It didn't change the weather. So you probably want to change your original image, and that's the result. So here I'm just gonna use one of them. So I can actually click on here and create a prompt. So I'm looking at different camera movements. So I'll do a tilt upward. So just to see me and hopefully have a finish on the Milky Way, and we'll see how that looks like. And yeah, it's doing actually a very interesting job there. So quite funny. There's some funny things with my glasses at the end, but it's very tiny. Like you probably wouldn't notice it much. Now I'm trying to change the shot because I couldn't change it in the video, so I'm changing it now for a day shot. And then, you know, out of 4 images, only 1 really came out close to the original one. So this is a bit disappointing, but it's good to know. And this is using Gen 4. And here I'm using image 1 and image 2. So I'm just, again, using Dune character, but from the back, walking towards the house. And then I guess none of the house really look like the house I originally had, which is a bit frustrating, but I will select this one. Maybe it's the back of the house, but that's something quite interesting to notice as well. And here I'm gonna use the prompt of the example that we have here. So I'm just gonna change the mechanical bulb with the man. I want the camera to follow that man, and he will walk not across the desert but towards the villa. Or the building. And I would keep the dust, we'll see what's happening, and then that trace behind the man. And for some reason, there's 2 guys that follow this guy. So I probably need to tweak a bit the prompt to get only 1 person. And then the stairs somehow split as well. So, but quite interesting results overall. Okay, to conclude, Gen 4 along some great feature from Gen 3. I can't wait to have this feature into Gen 4. It can be very helpful for storytelling. Gen 4 brings a lot to the table and definitely a big improvement over Gen 3 in terms of quality and prompt adherence. Also, the scale 4K is actually quite impressive and pretty welcome. I also really like that they provide a full breakdown on how to use the camera movement, and it's right there and easy to access, which makes prompt writing much faster and easier because you also have the demo of the video of what's happening with which part of the prompt, which that's amazing. Overall, I got most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, what I wanted from the first try. Even on longer clip I tested, you don't really have those weird things happening, which is amazing. And it also allows you to not burn too many credits. I think overall with the right workflow, it's an amazing tool for creative designers and architects. And it definitely earns its place alongside other tools in our toolkit. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoy the video, give it a like. It really helps the algorithm. And if you want to stay up to date on AI and architecture and computational design, subscribe to the channel. I just realized that only 15% of my audience is subscribed. So, you know, if you subscribe, it helps a lot the channel, and it helps me to create more content for you. And also, if you like the content that I show in the video, I also have a Patreon page. I'll put the link below in the description where I share everything you see in the videos. So here in this specific video, I'll be sharing all the original video I generated with Runway, and also the prompt and the script from ComfyUI, how I generate those first images, all those type of things. So yeah, consider checking it out if you're interested. I see you in the next video. Ciao.